Welcome to my highlights of round 7. I must admit this is a little bit late, but still, I've got the games prepared for you. I just didn't find time to record anything actually. So I'd like to look at two games. One is going to be my save of the day, and one is going to be my swindle of the day, or cheapo of the day. So my save of the day comes from the Canada-England match. Halfway through this match, I thought England had a chance of being whitewashed 4-0. In fact, they managed to turn things around. This was the last game to finish. It's Sambuyev against Howell, David Howell from England. At this stage, the score was 2-1 in England's favour. If Canada won, of course, they would level the match. David Howell was completely lost in this endgame. Although he had an extra piece, there were 4 pawns marching up the kingside towards Black's king. But by this stage, David has somehow managed to turn the game around. So Howell playing with the black pieces, he played b5. You can see he has these 3 pawns on the queen side and 2 knights against White's bishop here on b1, and White still has these pawns which are looking pretty dangerous. Now they were into the 5th hour of play by this time, and it's very, very hard to analyse when you're tired, but in this situation there is no alternative but to calculate. White ploughed on. I think White's problem was that because he thought he was winning earlier, well, he was winning earlier, but I think he was still under the illusion that he should still be trying to win, go all out to win. So he's pressing on, and I think he was hoping for knight takes pawn, and suddenly the game has turned in White's favour again. If knight takes bishop, then king f7, and there's no defence to the pawn marching on to the queening square. But Howell was switched on. He played knight f8. And here it seems as though White should simply compromise and just come back with the king to protect this pawn here. And there's not a lot that either side can do now. White can secure the pawns on the king side, and then, well, the king can march on. Knight takes here, that would be a mistake. Then White is going to win this position, but instead after king e6, if the knight checks and the king comes back, again there's a threat to push on, but if the knight checks, then actually there's nothing doing. It's going to be a draw by perpetual check after knight f8. So I think that's probably the logical conclusion to the game. But instead of king d4, White played king e5, so he was still trying to win, but he must have completely overlooked David Howell's next move. He just gave up his knight. Now I can understand how this is a very unexpected move, because suddenly it looks as though, you know, everything is going right for White, you know, maybe even this one as well. But after this very simple move, White is in deep trouble. So first of all, we can see that the knight stops the pawn advancing, and now it's Black's turn, so White has to play bishop b1, stop the pawn. And now b4 is a winning move, incredibly. It's just a race. If the king comes back, then b3, and this one goes through. White tried f5, but this is now winning. After this, and now c2. If f7, then the knight comes back. I mean, this is the hardest working knight I've seen in a long time. I mean, it's incredible. it was attacking on the queen side, but now it's coming back to defend on f8. And here, this knight is able to buy enough time, checks the king again, still stopping this pawn, and then will take here, so black wins. So after c2, white has to take, and then here, black queens with check. So the king moves away, and now, well, it's actually very easy. Here, white resigned. If, for example, the king comes away, then we can check here, and the queen is stopping this pawn, and the knight stops this pawn, and, well, black is the queen up. An incredible turnaround, an incredible save for the England team. Let me just show you one more game, which is my swindle of the day. No, not a swindle. That was the swindle of the day. This is my... Let me try and find the game. This is my cheapo of the day, and it came in the game between Gundava and Sutovsky. Emil Sutovsky playing for Israel in the Mongolia-Israel match. Sutovsky with black. In this position, he's already castled. White's king is still in the middle, so it makes a lot of sense to provoke a crisis with a5. To stir up trouble while white's king is still in the middle, and that's a little bit uncomfortable. So obviously a threat to take on b4, so white advances with b5, and rook d8, attacking the queen. Queen c3. Now it gets tricky. Bishop f6. A skewer, but white takes on c6. So we've got two rooks are on prise here. Sutovsky threw in bishop c3 check. Now that's a very cunning move. White's best continuation is king f1. It's a little bit uncomfortable to put your king on this square. Now you can't castle, the rook is just blocked in for a moment on h1, and this would probably be best play for both sides. After this, we reach an endgame where black is an exchange up, but white has a pawn for it, and it's a pretty good pawn. So white has compensation, but who knows, black might be able to make something of it. But let's go back. In this position, instead of king f1, white thought, well, I can improve things. I can play king e2. That looks much stronger because the rooks are connected. Now there should be no difficulties at all for white. But this was an evil trap set by Sutovsky. He now played bishop d7. Bishop d7. And if queen takes queen, bishop takes is just about mate. Well, we can throw a queen in the way, but that's the end of that. Well, white gave up his queen instead, but that really was the end of that, and here white resigned. Evil trap by Emil Sutovsky. I'll try to catch up with my highlights from round 8 as soon as I can. Bear with me. Thanks.